I mean, you were elected rightfully into the Hong Kong legislature, and then you were basically removed just so that there wouldn't be enough people to be able to kind of, block the Beijing dictates from happening, right? If I recall that correctly, perhaps you can correct me here. You've seen some of the worst of the erosions personally on your very skin, and you're still being optimistic about this. I mean, my hat off to you, sir.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't say that I'm so optimistic, but I do believe that as an activist, I'm not entitled to lose hope. I think hope is something that really supports us to go this long way. I don't believe that Chinese Communist Party is something that would, let's say, face massive defeat in just a few years. It's a long road to go, but as long as we realize and understand the reality, and when we still choose to continue to fight, and that is where courage lies. I don't want to fool people saying that it will be an easy road. It will be something that we can get a massive victory in a short period of time. It's just not the case. You just have to think about, well, you have to commit a lot if you're going with us. But if you are going with us, then you're a person with conscience, and that's how I kind of like proceed these things. So for me, even though I've personally lived through some of the most landmark cases of political suppression in Hong Kong, including go to jail, being unseated, facing all these criticism from mainland China, propaganda for now being wanted, possibly being on top of the wanted list under the national security law, and will face life imprisonment when I return to Hong Kong. But I will still choose to fight alongside with my comrades.
So where does that energy come from? Why do you choose this? This is a very, very important question.
I think for me, I'm a person with responsibility. From 7 years ago, when I was in the Orwellian movement, I already felt a strong sense of responsibility when I saw people giving their support to me, putting their trust on me, believing in me that I have the capacity to change something. Even though for now, the situation of Hong Kong is getting dire and dire, but still there are lots of Hong Kong people trying to do something and hoping that people like me, political activists, that we can make a change no matter how small it is. So for me, it's that sense of responsibility and duty. Of course, there are also the people that I've been working with for the past few years, that they are now in jail. They're literally on the front lines of facing the Chinese Communist Party's suppression. Trying to get them out. This is also one of my important vocation and pushing force behind all my advocacy work.
Well, I mean, I wish you the biggest success with this. What do you think really is kind of the biggest weak point of the Chinese regime? Sometimes it can seem so monolithic and, unstoppable. Where is the weakness?
Truth. They deny truth. They censor every possible gateway of delivering truth in mainland China, and it's probably coming to Hong Kong. Well, we've got a lot of movies talking about 2019 protest that are banned literally in Hong Kong, and they can only be screened in the US, in the UK. And I have an initiative for bringing them to overseas to make sure that people can watch it. And for me, well, writing the book also means that I know the history of Hong Kong in a way that is outside of Beijing's propaganda, and it's truth and it's facts. So I think these are also important things that we are doing, and definitely these work would shatter that thin and shallow legitimacy that the Chinese Communist Party is enjoying.
You mentioned something towards the end of the book when you talk about the how to fight back portion, right? And there's this, I've always loved this statement, be like water, right? This is how the protesters imagine themselves. You write, confronted by the most powerful, controlling, and repressive authoritarian power, protesters must be like water. We must be able to flow over any obstacle and take on any form. Now, so this is not just advice for, you know, people fighting authoritarianism in China. It's probably anywhere. But tell me more about this. What does this really mean?
If it applies to my personal example, I was a protest leader, and then I was a legislator, and then I was an inmate. And for now, I'm an exile activist doing a lot of international advocacy work. In different stages of my life, it's changing so quickly, but I had to adopt. I had to have different skill sets, meeting different people, doing different level of advocacy work so that I could best perform. For me, be water means that you change forms, you change shape in order to best counter the threats and hurdles that you're facing. So for me, it's also an important motto. If I, for now, as an exile activist, but I still retain a mindset of doing advocacy in Hong Kong or a mindset of a legislator, then I'm impossible to do my work properly. So I think this means a lot to me, and for people who wanted to be involved in work of enhancing social justice, to pushing forward changes in the society, you must understand where you are. You must understand how you can best accommodate your environment and find your best way to achieve it. Understand more about it and adopt to your situation.
So I'm going to ask you for just a few kind of messages for different groups of people, because this is a wonderful opportunity. I mean, to Hong Kongers, what is your message? Actually, you said something at the end, but in Cantonese of your speech. But what is your message to Hong Kongers?
My message to Hong Kong is persist. Don't let the Chinese Communist Party to dissect you from the others. They want to atomize everyone, making us feeling lonely, feeling helpless, feeling just living by yourself. No matter how much they crack the civil society, maintain public life, be connected with the others, even though it's not political, even though it's just talking about pop star, talking about chilling thing, but make sure you are connected to the other people, and make sure you let the memory of the protest float in your head. Don't forget it.
And what about mainland Chinese? Do you have any thoughts for them? Because I know a few of them will be watching this as well.
Well, for the mainland Chinese, do not be swallowed by the world of China's propaganda. Do not be swallowed by WeChat, by the world created by WeChat. If you want to know more and you want to keep safe, make sure that you have the readiness to live a double life. You have one phone with WeChat, one phone with Twitter. You have one phone with Baidu, one phone is with Google. Protect yourself and grow yourself. Get a better understanding about the world and what we are fighting for.
Well, and so finally, for anybody out there fighting tyranny who sees the seeds of it or is in the thick of it or has been imprisoned, as one of our journalists has in Nigeria, for example, what would your message to be to people fighting tyranny in general?
Do not give up. I know it is a tough role. A lot of people are facing much more brutal suppression than what I've been through. But I believe that as long as we are together, as long as we are doing work that can wake the world, I think there are always possibility to change. I'm here with you, and I will make sure that the democratic struggle of Hong Kong is not just about Hong Kong people, but about making sure that we live in a more just and a more liberal system, that we can definitely counter the rise of authoritarianism